everybody. All right, so I'm super excited to release this video to you today. This is actually something that we have incorporated in quite a bit of training. Some of my athletes are probably sick of hearing me say it, but a ton of the coaching that we've done starting this year, we've incorporated this into our training, and so I'm going to put it out to all of you, and I can't wait to hear what everybody's perception is on it and how you're going to incorporate it going forward this year. So there has been, at least in my experience in my life, many occasions where someone has told me that, you know, adrenaline will take you forward, or the adrenaline of the moment has kicked in and let you do something that you didn't know you were capable of. The other favorite one that I have heard a ton was, oh, well, it was great to see you rise to the occasion. And when I was growing up, it was always meant to be a little bit of a compliment for me. You know, oh, you did a beautiful job. You rose to the occasion. It was so wonderful seeing you do that. And for me, it was definitely a compliment. Like I wasn't going to be able to do it before, but in the moment, it just, you know, it took over and I just was able to make it happen. But as I've coached a ton of people, you know, we prepare you on a very consistent basis to do something, and then if you coach with us, you know that you can call in and get coaching right before a meeting, or you can call in, decompress a meeting with us or recap a meeting with us, and we'll go through it with you immediately. And the nerves or the adrenaline of a meeting will kind of set in, and we work really hard to create a very stable, consistent ability to walk into a meeting and handle it without too many nerves or too many butterflies in your stomach and things like that. So as we were making some tweaks to our Phoenix training, if you have been fortunate enough to be exposed to a couple of the first sets of it as it's been released, you know that it has some drivers in it that cause us to have to remain very stable while we start to make our opponent or our other person that we're talking to potentially very unokay, not okay, emotional, things like that. And we do that because it gets people to make a decision a little bit faster. If you have watched some of our original Oxygen videos, being emotional in the workplace is not as taboo as it used to be. So it's a little bit more commonplace. And we, as the salesperson or as the manager or as the owner, need to be okay with people becoming emotional. However, how we control our own emotions in that process is important. Okay. So, one of the important things through all of this is that we understand how to control our own preparedness in a meeting. So here's the new piece to all of this. Our preparedness, so we used to talk about kind of old school, here's our preparedness, and the adrenaline would spike, and we'd go in and we'd handle it, and we'd kind of superwoman it or superman it, and then we'd come down and we'd go through our notes and we'd say, oh, okay, we got it, but it was the adrenaline. And then maybe next time we'd be a little bit more prepared and the adrenaline spike would be a little bit less, but it was there, and we rose to the occasion and all of those things. However, I'm going to flip your perspective a little bit more on this because I was personally taking some training. Ongoing education and reinforcement for me is super important. And the philosophy was presented that we fall to our greatest level of preparedness. So we prepare ourselves over and over and over again. We practice, we do research, we do all of these things. And as we start to get nervous or we start to maybe falter, maybe we forget something or someone has maybe thrown us a little bit of a curveball, we will fall to our highest level of preparedness. So if we're prepared, we would only fall to our shortest level of preparedness. So if we're the most prepared, adrenaline will not let us fail. We would only falter. a smaller amount. And then we would go back to being able to continue at our best. So it's not a spike of adrenaline. It is our ability to consistently perform at our highest level of preparedness. If you see a counterpart who just kind of like wings it through life and doesn't continue their education, who isn't constantly looking for new tips, new tricks, new reinforcement, isn't doing their research, things like that, they kind of go through life and they spike up and they spike down and they, whatever, and their results maybe aren't even as consistent. However, if you have somebody who is constantly doing the background, they're constantly doing best and better to better themselves, and they start to falter, or somebody kind of throws them a curveball, that's when you may see them functioning up here. And when that curveball comes, they may fall a little bit and then right back up. So the difference ends up being spikes, like somebody having bad heart rhythms, to consistent and then just maybe small dips. And in the end, what we end up with is inconsistent results, which for any owner or manager is so difficult to manage and so difficult to forecast, versus very consistent results and the ability to rebound or compensate for small inconsistencies when they happen. So my suggestion to you all is a flip in perspective. If we are preparing ourselves to function without adrenaline, and we are constantly being coachable, we are constantly seeking a greater level of preparedness, and we are more aware that our preparedness has created an environment for us to falter, rather than counting on adrenaline to reach a higher level of performance, then we have created a perspective and we have created an environment for higher potential. We have created a perspective for less fluctuation and less failure per se. And we are better prepared for ourselves. We are holding ourselves to a higher performance bar, kind of performing at a higher echelon. And adrenaline isn't what we're looking for. As a high performing sales rep, when I was in that role, I used to tell people I like the blood in the water. I like the kind of the kill of the bigger sale. And that isn't what we're talking about here. You still can get that up top. You can still get that when you're seeking higher performance. You're just looking for it at a higher level, and you're not guessing where it's going to come from. You're strategizing for it. And that higher level of preparedness is looking for the bigger deals, finding how it's easier to close them, faster closes, longer stay power with your customers, better customer service. And it's a different type of business, rather than somebody running around at 1,000,000 miles an hour like the Energizer Bunny and not knowing what the result is going to be, and an inconsistent result. So as I have said, and some of my athletes who are now looking at a postseason result are sick of hearing me say, but it should be somewhat ingrained in their little brains, we fall to our highest level of preparedness. And the best way to do that is to be coachable and consistent. So hopefully you take that off with you today, and I hope you take a little bit of time to breathe life in. Feel free to reach out to one of our coaches if you're looking for a little bit of reinforcement on those strategies today. Have a great day, everybody.